Welcome back to Super Sentai Anime Review episode number 35. This one discussing episodes 32 to 34. With these three episodes, the first two are the last two appearances of the original Battle Cossack, which I'll get to the reason for it. The first one is not focused on Cossack, it's focused on Japan. Yes, Battle of Japan is his turn for an episode focused on him. I kind of feel as though for him, it has been a long time in this series we get a focus episode on him, per se. Because he doesn't get very much at all. No, he doesn't. With this one, they reveal that he actually comes from a small village. You would think by the way he's dressed that he would actually come from, like, the city. No, he comes from a village, a very small village in, like, the middle of nowhere. And, well, he's invited to participate in this particular contest to claim the god, so he becomes a hero for the village for some reason. And you would think, based on the way this village looks, the way the thing is like they apparently don't have any running water, and also apparently this village lives like it's in the previous century for some reason. I'm sure there's probably villages actually in Japan, but here in the US, even small towns basically are not like this at all, because even back in the 70s, it probably wasn't this bad. No. So basically, he's called for a chaos reunion. But here's the thing about this one. There's actually an Egos plot in this one, a really big one. Apparently, the Egos monster in this one is one of the most strangest monsters I've ever seen. Apparently, this monster, it is, get this, born out of the hatred, born out of the revenge of all the fallen cutmen who appeared in this series at this point. I'm like, really? Take 32 episodes? So basically, I think all these cutmen throughout the series, apparently, this worm monster just wants to have revenge on, well, of course, Battle of Japan. So kind of trick him to come to his hometown, and he gets to like reunite with his old friend, the village chief, possibly a BF woman who knew him, and it turns out this BF woman is not actually his old friend. Nope, it's Soma. Yep, she's here. Well, I Heller, he's actually briefly at the beginning of the episode. And that's pretty much it for him. So everything's all hunky dory until they find out, oh yeah, they're actually Agos. And so they briefly take him hostage. They basically held him up, and they have him contact Battle Fever and tell him, I'll be unavailable for a few days. For 3 days. So he's forced to drink sake to make his throat dry. Really dry. I've never heard of a drink that did this at all. I'm sure there's a drink like this that doesn't exist. I personally have never heard one like this. Drinks are not meant to make people thirsty unless it's really, really dry sake. That's probably what it is. So they had to make sure he doesn't talk. He does talk a little bit later. Don't worry, it wears off after, I don't know, like a day. So apparently his job to do is to carry around this big, like, long pole with two buckets of water. Now, normally buckets of water, I think nowadays, are basically held in plastic buckets. These ones are basically a combination of old-fashioned buckets made of basically it looks like but made of wood and metal. It probably has wood outside but metal inside, along with a metal handle and metal rings. But yeah, it's a metal/wood bucket. This is an old-fashioned bucket from the Dark Ages. Now, this is part of a ceremony they have going on. And this particular monster wants to torture Battlefield long enough so they can kill him. Yep, they're still on that plot to kill the Battlefield J. And of course, two of the members of Battlefield J do show up. It's mostly Kenya and France, along with the two agents that are there. By the way, the general himself is actually not in a lot of these episodes. Nope, he's remarkably absent. It's particularly quite interesting, though. The fact that he's absent. I mean, he does appear briefly in a couple of the episodes I'm talking about here, but he doesn't do very much, though. No. He does become a little bigger role a little bit later on. Don't worry about that. So, then apparently this episode following does something really weird. Like, they have F4J finally show up after basically finding the action villagers. And then, of course, Kenya and France get trapped in the cave, though they get freed by Miss America and Cossack, who come in. And then, of course, they summon, like, the robot, the Bar Fever Robo, which this episode following does something really weird. Or apparently you have Japan just jumps inside of the robot by himself and basically defeats the robot by himself. Which I'm like, you're being selfish, Japan. Why the heck are you being selfish for? Of course, the monster himself, who was meant to revenge, he is defeated. The very next episode is the finale for Battle Cossack. I will get to in a minute exactly why it's the finale. So, we get the little development of his backstory, where apparently we have another old friend of his. It's a particular teacher, a scientist who's an old friend of his, and the daughter refers to him as like a big. He basically is like a big brother to her, and she developed this secret drill weapon. Which, by the way, the thing with this thing is actually completely unresolved by the end of the episode. Which, yeah, it's stolen by Agos, but it's never recovered, and it looks like it's still in development. But as far as I can tell, I think this is a forgotten plot thread. I don't know if this actually is explored in many episodes. I thought this was kind of weird. Also, the little girl whose father got killed by Agos. So, she doesn't like him very much because basically he's got blood in his hands, even though he... Here's the thing about here: they beat up Cutman, and supposedly they killed him, but they don't stab them. Well, I think what Cossack does, he doesn't carry a particular weapon. It's mostly just Battle of Japan and France who carry bladed weapons. But in the case of Cossack, he doesn't. Nope, he doesn't. The only weapon he carries is the baton for Panther Force. So he goes on like a date with a little girl. Yes. Though it's a friendly little thing. Basically have a little date with her. And leaving his uniform behind like an idiot. And then Ego shows up and they proceed to kill him. Yep, they kill Bao Cossack. They shoot him, and then of course his friend Jin, who made his debut this episode, he takes the Bao Cossack suit and becomes the Bao Cossack. And he remains Bao Cossack for pretty much the rest of the entire run. He's not, of course, basically... He's only Bao Cossack for about 19 episodes. And then the thing is done. He pops up occasionally after this, mostly in the suit. Excuse me, yes. So, they defeat the monster, and once again, this is an episode where Japan basically pilots Megazord by himself and basically destroys the monster. Now, there was a reason why they decided to do this. I found out the reason why they decided to kill off Cossack. The reason was because the actor recently got married. And the producers wanted him to spend more time with his new wife. Which, okay. You could easily just run out the show a different way. I mean, yeah, it's great they made a heroic last stand, but technically, if you look at this, he's officially the first Super Sentai Ranger to die. And he gets shot. Yes. So, in the very next episode, we introduce this monster as a Shogun of Darkness. Which apparently they reveal this is kind of the way the very first Egos monster ever to make his public debut. Which I don't think anybody knew was an Egos monster. Some people knew it was the Shogun of Darkness. The Shogun of Darkness, the way it's described in the series, he's an arms dealer. Which, of course, Jin, the current Bao Cossack, basically has a grudge against him because he killed his brother, who was a detective. And this episode is also noteworthy for the first time. The new Cossack, Jin, goes inside Bat Fever J. And like in the case of America, there is no reaction from somebody who had never been in this Megazord before and, like, apparently knows how to operate a damn thing. Also, apparently he knew, like, I'm sure he probably knew about, I'm sure he probably read about Bat Fever J due to being part of the Defense Department. Okay, but how did he know about, the introduction stance basically that he does? How did he know that Cossack did that, the original one? Did he watch all the footage when he was working for them? I'm not really sure. So it becomes very interesting because stuff on his own. He tries to go after the Shogun of Darkness. So he does finally have a bullet to basically pierce the body of the Shogun of Darkness, and he shoots him. It's like, it works. And the Shogun admits, yeah, it did pierce my body. It would have killed me if I was human. And of course, well, the Shogun of Darkness is mechanical. It's referred to as a semi-killer robot, which I thought that was kind of weird. Yep. And eventually, of course, the monster itself is destroyed. The new Cossack goes to his brother's grave, prays. This is, of course, probably a Japanese culture thing. I am not going to criticize this because this is perfectly fine. Visiting a relative's grave like this, this is just basically a thing that people from Japan do. Basically have candles there. Now, here in the U.S., we do something very similar to this, except that we don't have, burning like incense basically near the grave. Normally, from what I have seen, basically to pay respects to whoever is buried there. Usually, a lot of the time, it's flowers left there. A lot of the time, that's generally put exactly what is usually left there. Yep. I gotta admit, these actually were pretty good episodes, and can't wait to watch the rest. I'll watch them later on. It might be a little bit before I get back to the series because, pretty much tomorrow, basically, I'll be going through One Piece and go through all the new anime, and of course, go through Jump Incarnation. And pretty much when I finish up Jump Incarnation, I'm basically going to be back to the series. I'm almost done with the third book. I'm going to do that tomorrow, and once I finish up that, I'm going to go through a certain amount. I'm not going to say how much, because I'm going to take a brief break to work on Two Levels of Darkness. I'll go back and forth between that and work on this Mirror series, okay? Next video. By the way, it's getting kind of late, so I won't be able to do Miss Kabachi's Dragon Me. Excuse me, I'll probably do this tomorrow, okay? Next video. Bye.